of this.
Video game consoles were one of the most revolutionary things technology has ever brought us as kids. Consoles filled with magic and new worlds full of possibilities to discover. And when technology advanced enough to create consoles we could take everywhere, that was a huge leap for gamers. Released in 2005, the Nintendo DS was a console with a lot of history. I mean, I don't know anyone who never had one. Pokémon, New Super Mario Bros., Mario Kart, and a whole world of games that were part of our childhood. I still remember that Christmas when I found the console under the tree. But just as we got many iconic games remembered as classic gems, there were also games that we never received in this part of the world. So today, I'm gonna talk about some of these games that would have been really cool to play here. There are probably a lot of people here who weren't born in that era, but I bet many of you lived through it. And for those who didn't experience the DS era, I hope you still enjoy today's topic. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. I only played 5 games to show in this video. But when researching other games, I found some very weird ones, like... what's that? I noticed that a lot of them are anime based. There are Death Note games, Bleach games, Naruto games, and even Evangelion games. Although I'm sure that kids who playing them didn't watch the anime with the same eyes afterward. One of those anime games that caught my attention was a Dragon Ball game, Dragon Ball Ultimate Butoden. I thought this game had been released in Europe at least, but no, it's a Japan exclusive. Ignoring the fact that I had no idea how to start playing because everything was in Japanese, except the button to skip cutscenes, I really loved the introduction. I think it was the first time I heard Dragon's Soul in chiptune, and it actually sounds pretty cool. This game is clearly based on the Budokai style. With 2D battles full of action, it feels more dynamic and frenetic than the regular Budokai games. The constant movement of the stage and the power effect of the attacks are great additions. Most of the time, it feels like a true Dragon Ball battle. The only downside is the limited graphics, but that's obviously a console limitation, not the game's fault. Although it does give us some interesting character models. I mean, what's that forehead do? Yeah, the character's design is a bit weird, to be honest. Especially compared to the previous DS Dragon Ball game, which had much more accurate models. The game is really fun, and it's a great way to experience the Dragon Ball story in a dynamic way. One problem, probably due to the console limited capacity, is that you can't transform during battle. You just select a character with their transformation already active. That's definitely a downgrade compared to other Dragon Ball games of this style. It's really a shame this game was never released in the West. After doing some research, I found out it was released in the last year of the DS lifespan, which might explain why it never came out here. That's unfortunate, especially since the other Dragon Ball games on the DS were based on the classic series. This could have been the final Dragon Ball game of that saga on Nintendo's portable console. Sadly, it never happened. I recommend playing it, even if just a little while like I did. It also has what-if stories like other Dragon Ball games, which is another reason to try it. Sometimes the developers create interesting stories, and sometimes they create things that make no sense at all. But that's a different topic. The next game I tested was, honestly, quite unique. I think everyone here knows about The Legend of Zelda, the legendary series about exploring temples, discovering the secrets of Hyrule, finding the Triforce, and saving the kingdom from the Ganondorf Chaos. Who would have thought that a cell like that would have a Japanese-only exclusive that was never released anywhere else in the world? It must be something special, right? It's a Balloon Fight parody, no way! Tingle's Balloon Fight DS. There's not much to say about this game. It's literally just a parody of Balloon Fight starring Tingle. It has 3 modes. The first one is exactly like the original Balloon Fight, where you have to pop the enemy's balloons while you're protecting your own. This mode has 3 stages, plus a bonus stage focused on collecting rupees. One cool detail I noticed is that each stage has different backgrounds, day, afternoon and night, which is pretty nice for such a simple game. The second mode is multiplayer, which is identical to the single player mode, but with friends. It even supports single card multiplayer, so Japanese kids must have had a lot of fun with it. The last mode is called Balloon Trip, and it's the most chill mode that I've ever played. It's just about collecting rupees for all eternity, while dodging stars to avoid death. Yeah, this is easily one of the calmest modes in any DS games. The game also has a gallery with artwork that you unlock by scoring a lot of points in the different modes. Some of these arts are actually pretty interesting. This one actually reminds me of Spider-Man, funnily enough. I think it's a very solid remake of the old Balloon Fight. They added quite a lot, even though the original only had 1 mode. Tingle works surprisingly well as the protagonist, although I do think the villager should have been playable too. That would explain why he has the obby as his Balloon Fight move. But that's not the only Zelda game that wasn't released in America. Being the next one, freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. Yeah, the name's a bit long for this game, isn't it? This game is curious. It's obviously a parody of Zelda games, but it also has things that make it genuinely enjoyable to play seriously. In this game, Tingle is a 35-year-old man who has to collect a huge amount of rupees. But instead of just being points, rupees are the main way to interact with the world. Want to talk to an NPC? Pay them. Want to examine projects? Pay for it. Want to upgrade your inventory? Pay up. You want to watch more videos about random game topics? Subscribe. Because only 4% of the people watching are actually subscribed. But seriously, this game feels like a metaphor for capitalism most of the time, because the only way to progress is by paying for everything. Tingle must collect rupees because an angelic being from the sky told him that if he gathers enough, he can reach a wonderful kingdom called Rupee Land. Why does he want to go there? Because in Rupee Land, he won't have to worry about money, food, or women, since there are plenty of them waiting for him. To reach it, he has to throw a massive amount of rupees into a magical pool, originally contacted by the Rupee Angel, as I like to call him. This character is very important at the end of the game, so if you want to play it, don't forget about him. Rupees also act as Tingle's life. Just like Sonic Rings, if you run out, you die. The game is quite long. I only played about an hour without getting too far, but after watching some gameplays, it seems pretty entertaining. It's still a Zelda game at its core, just very different, with the main mechanic being collecting rupees to advance the story. There are many islands to explore and a lot of minigames, so it can keep you busy. And the combat is funny at the beginning, though I'm sure some kids destroy their B buttons trying to farm rupees. Poor B buttons. This game is weird. To be fair, I can understand why it exists. It's a Zelda parody, so of course they went all out with the weird concepts. What I can't understand is why it was never released in America. It came out in Japan and Europe, with translations, but not in the US. After some research, I found that Nintendo didn't want to localize it because of Tingle's low popularity and because many fans found the character creepy. Honestly, I never thought Tingle was creepy. I mean, come on, you can't look at this guy and say he scares you. Wait, these are the new renders. Let me check how he looked in Majora's Mask. Jesus Christ! Okay, now I understand why he was receiving it that way. The Majora's Mask theories and creepy videos probably didn't help either. Still, Nintendo lost a big market by not releasing it in America, and yet they made a sequel. What? Yeah, I don't know either. I guess Nintendo was just trolling with their DS game choices. Hi, Mr. President. I want to show you the latest project we're developing for the Nintendo DS. Oh, cool. Let's see. Okay, sir. We were working on the sequel of one of our niche series. Development is going really well. I'm sure it will be a commercial success. Oh, that's great. I was actually going to tell you to make a sequel of the Tingles game. The other thing was already ahead of me. Wait. Sir. What? Yeah, I hope the team can finish it this year. But sir, I was referring to Metro. And please, make it even bigger than the previous game. Okay, sir. I don't know who had the idea to make a sequel to Tingle's game, but, well, this sequel is similar to its predecessor, but with some changes. First of all, there are no rupees to collect. Instead, you have to collect low. Well, not exactly low. In this game, Tingle gets absorbed by a book he bought after seeing a TV ad that promised it would make him popular with the girls. Absorbed by a book, huh? Now where have I seen this before? As I was saying, Tingle is transported in the new world inspired by the Wizard of Oz. He meets new companions, Kakashi the Scarecrow, Buriki the Thin Robot Woman, and Lion the Lion, very clearly based on the original characters. Unlike the first game, this one was only released in Japan, not even in Europe. A shame, because it kind of breaks the continuity, but I thought there were many hardcore Tingle fans complaining about it. One thing I consider a downgrade is that you can't play using the D-pad. You have to use the touchscreen for everything, which gets a bit annoying. It's similar to Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. I understand they wanted to make use of the touchscreen for the minigames, but not even letting you walk with the D-pad in the hub world is pretty stressful. The last game I want to talk about belongs to a franchise loved by many people. It was eventually localized years later thanks to fan demand, but I still want to include it, because it was highly requested for a long time. I'm talking about Ace Attorney Investigations 2. I'm not the most experienced with this series, since I haven't played any of them, but it was surprising to discover that a game from such a big franchise was Japan only. Main reasons were the high localization cost due to the massive amount of text, and the fact that the DS was nearing the end of its life. The game came out in 2011, just 23 days before the 3DS launched. Clearly, someone wasn't informed about the new console release date. A fan translation was released in 2014, but we didn't get an official translation until 2024, where a remake was announced during a Nintendo Direct. It finally came out in the Ace Attorney Investigation Collection for Switch, with both games remade in HD. So technically, this game was Japan exclusive for at least 13 years. Maybe Mother 3 fans can relate. The game follows the same structure as the first one. This time, you control the Prosector, Miles Edgeworth. As you investigate cases, Edgeworth keeps information in his thoughts, and you can sometimes use a little tip to recreate crime scenes with holograms to find more clues. Once you have enough information, you can confront other characters, press them on contradictions in their testimonies, and uncover the truth. I'd love to talk more about this game, but honestly, as someone who has never played an Ace Attorney game, it's hard to me to explain everything that happens on it. Maybe I'll play one of them soon. So if you recommend me one of them to start, I'll be reading the comments. Don't be afraid. The Nintendo DS was a fantastic console full of amazing games, and all the titles we talked about today were, at some point, missing gems you couldn't play due to localization issues. Well, maybe the thing those games weren't the most missed ones, but even they can be surprisingly enjoyable if you play them with the right mindset. There are many more games I didn't mention in this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and leave a like so I know you like the content. Maybe I'll make a second part if it gets enough support. If you like my content, I also have a Twitter where I post some stuff about games and random things I do. Feel free to follow me there. I hope you liked the audio quality this time. I bought a new microphone to improve things a bit. Without further words, goodbye guys. See you in the next video. Bye bye.